So it's our second day doing the Battle of Stalingrad tour, and we've done so much stuff today, going around town, looking at all the sights, and going even further out of town, seeing memorials and stuff, and even part of it on the Volga River that we've had to split it up into 3 parts.
We're at breakfast. Yesterday was a really long day, like 9 o'clock in the morning to I think like 6 o'clock at night. So we're gonna go farther outside of the city today to see some of the sights, and we've just got breakfast here. Katie's still trying to find something to drink, a coffee or something.
Well, a couple things from the first day of the tour of the city that I found interesting is they have a small, simple memorial, and it's to all the civilians that died during the war. And when they were trying to cross the river, they would be gathered up, and the Nazis would bomb the civilians. And I found that sad.
So, Katie, what did you think about the hill that we went out to yesterday with the Motherland Calling statue?
It was really beautiful. I feel like I haven't really seen anything in the U.S. like that. I feel like most of the time our memorials are rather small, and it was almost like a park that you could go to and walk the whole thing. And there was a lot of different art installations that had a lot of different meanings to them, which I'm sure are really important because some of the people here have relatives that were in the war because it wasn't that long ago. So,
and it also had like layers to it, like, you know, like how the layers of the battle, it was down low like the Volga River is, and then you know you had to walk up all those steps just like the guys had to fight for the hill, you know, as when they were trying to take it back from the Germans. And you know you can hear all the sounds of the battle going on. They had it recorded, and walking up there and just they tried to personalize it with, like with the statue of the mother holding her dead child, or it could symbolize a wife holding her dead husband. So lots of different layers to it. And you know the pinnacle was, you know, they were going to fight and take, you know, Germany with the Motherland's Calling statue. You know, come on everybody, let's go, we can do this. So it was pretty interesting. This is the Red October factory area. Most of it was destroyed in the war, and they've rebuilt it.
Which also was located the Russian hospital and the artillery which was shelling by Germans. So for the soldiers of the 95th Rifle Division under commandment of Colonel Garishny, and he is written, he laid the remains of the heroic defenders of Stalingrad. Yeah. So
And this is the island out in the Volga where the hospital was during the war.
the Russian aircraft were taken off and throwing the supplies to this pocket, but the German artillery, anti-aircraft artillery, could down them, so even a few aircrafts were destroyed. So later Russians invented the following tactics. Late night they took off from the opposite bank and
somewhere over there they were switching off the engines and then gliding quietly over this pocket. They were throwing the supplies. Then they starting the engines and could fly away. But the several aircrafts could not restart the engines and crashed over this high bank. Apartment buildings on the outskirts of Berlin and Dresden. Very similar. Which still remains here, an old part, with the bullet traces, some of the bullet traces are visible, but the other bricks are new. So later I will explain, I will show you more interesting. Here in November 1942, December 1942, when the front line of defense of the Red Banner 138 Rifle Division under commandment of Colonel Ludnikov, being semi-surrounded, was able to defend this territory heroically. And later this area was named as an island of Ludnikov. The division was able to reject all of the German attacks and to take part later in defeat of German fascist forces under Stalingrad. Here you can see the medal for defense of Stalingrad, some weapons with shields, and it's written for our Soviet motherland. This plaque was designed in 1952.
We're going inside one of the rebuilt factory worker buildings in 1943 that were rebuilt by the German prisoners of war. They were rebuilt on the foundations of the old buildings from 1906.
Took place right inside of the buildings, room by room, staircase by staircase, cellar by cellar. And you can see the evidence of the fightings even in the cellar basement here. You can see the damages from the explosions of the grenades.
Wow.
Even here. So because the tactics of Russian and German soldiers was just to throw first grenade, then after explosion to come inside and to shoot from automatic gun. So you can see the damages even here. People still live in these houses.
How do you find these places?
I just was walking around and here's one. Let's see. There's one. This. in that house was located the command point of 138 Red Banner Rifle Division in 42-43 of Colonel Lyudnikov and his officers. So the Russian positions were closer to those buildings, but he was like the rear. You can come closer and see like 300 meters from here and from barricade factory. So you can see the shell holes. Yeah, and I'll show you the direction of shelling from the three different directions. When you get up here. Yeah, they never let me anywhere close to this.
It'd be roped off. They probably would have taken it down.
Chained it all up. Yeah. They would take it You can see the bullet traces are everywhere. Yeah, so memorial of history, object of the cultural legacy of federal meaning, the ruined house of the director of the factory of barricade, in which was located the command post of 138 Red Banner Rifle Division in 1942-43, protected by the state.
Okay, so today when we were touring the areas with our tour guide, he met a man a few years ago that survived the Battle of Stalingrad. He was a kid. They were running during the initial assault. His mother got mortally wounded, and she told him to get to the Volga River. That was the only chance of survival. He got there, and there was no boats to take them across, but he saw other people digging foxholes in the sand, so that he dug one too. And the fighting was so close to the river that when there was a break in the fighting, they were bringing up supplies for the Soviet troops that were trying to defend the Nazis from getting to the river. And then they would go back to the river, and then they'd fight again, and they would keep doing this. And he ended up spending about a whole week on the river, but he had told our tour guide that one of the times that they were supplying him, the fighting started again, and it wasn't safe to get back to the beach, so they just kind of hid as best they could there. And he said he saw a sight that he will never forget as long as he lives, is the Nazis were using the Russian civilians as human shields. They had babies tied to their fronts, and they were marching old people in front of them. So the Russians were afraid to fire until someone finally did give the order to fire, and he just said it was just the most terrible thing he's ever seen.